Good morning, guys. I'm Daniel and I'm a cyclist currently living in China, and I have fallen victim to indoor cycling. Let me show you what I mean by that. So right here, there used to be a bottle cage and a screw for the bottle cage. And I was doing some maintenance on the bike yesterday, waxing the chain, and the bolt completely broke off. So half of the bolt is still in the frame of the bike currently, and I need to go to the bike shop and get that extracted. So we're rocking our bottles like this currently, which I'm glad I have that extra bottle holder because I need it for today's ride, but it's a little awkward. When I first got the bike, I thought I was going to do a lot of like really long distance ultra stuff, gravel, bike packing, so I had them put an extra bottle cage there, and I've been regretting it ever since because I was like, when am I actually going to use this? Well, apparently when you sweat so much and corrode your bolts and your bottle cage can't go back in, that's when you're going to use it. So yeah, we're going to use that one today, and I'm going to have to stop when I need to change bottles because obviously I can't pull that bottle out while on the bike. But in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about some indoor versus outdoor training, and we'll get into that on today's ride. I've got about a 3-hour endurance ride with some cadence drills. So let's get out there. Most of my cycling training has happened on an indoor trainer. That's where I got started with cycling. I've had multiple indoor trainers. It's where I'm comfortable with. Obviously, there's some downsides to indoor cycling on the trainer. One is if you're like me and you sweat a lot and you have salty sweat, if you don't properly cover your top tube and your headset here with a towel or something else to catch that sweat, you're gonna corrode things out. I was using a towel. Apparently a towel wasn't enough to prevent that bolt from getting corroded. And I swapped all my bolts out now, and some others looks like they're about to go as well. I've corroded some of the decal off of the bike. Fortunately, my bike doesn't have any paint, and the titanium isn't gonna corrode. All right, cadence drills are about to start here. I'm supposed to do 1 minute from like really low cadence to as high of a cadence as I can hold without bouncing all over the seat. I've never done cadence drills outdoors, so these will all be a learning experience. On the indoor trainer, the erg mode just kind of adapts to what you're doing, and depending on the trainer, it adapts really well or adapts really poorly. Oh, here we go. 50 RPM, 70, 80. I'm gonna have it down so it's gonna be weird. 100. All right, I was able to hit 140 RPM. You get a 1 minute break. Let me do it again. I think I can do it 5 times. I love that they clean the roads and water everything off the side, but I don't like being behind that truck. It gets me all wet. Those cadence drills are a perfect example as to why I like indoor training, because on indoor training, you can just hop on, load up your workout, and you just do it. You don't have to worry about downhill, uphill, traffic coming this way, someone that you need to pass, checking for cars over here, all while you're trying to do 150 RPM. You know, you're just trying to focus on staying seated and doing the proper cadence and achieving the workout. But you have all these other factors that go on outside. And that's a great skill to develop, to be able to multitask and handle those things. But it can be a really big deterrent from structured training outside and a distractor from actually getting the training or just getting the ride in. So what are some of the differences between indoor training and outdoor training, the considerations that you need to kind of think about between the two? Well, for indoor training, it's the convenience, right? The trainer's there. You know, if you have a dedicated spot, then it's set up all the time. You can just hop on. If you forget some of your fuel, a bottle, some water, you need to use the bathroom, you can hop off and do those things, come right back real quick. Outside, if you forget fuel, you're gonna have to stop somewhere or risk, bonking or hope that you can get home. If you have to use the bathroom, it's not always the easiest for everyone to just pull over and use the bathroom. Maintenance on your indoor rides is gonna be pretty minimal, just keeping care of your cassette. Whereas outdoor riding, you've got all sorts of stuff to think about. You have tire wear, you have your disc brakes, you have your brake pads that wear out. You're more likely gonna have to re-grease and lube things. It's just a lot more to take into consideration. So there's a bigger time component that comes into the maintenance part, which takes away from what you could be doing otherwise in your daily life or riding your bike. I also find it takes me a lot longer to prepare to ride outside versus indoors. For riding outside, you're so dependent on the weather. The temperature even, not even like, let's take rain out of it, just the temperature. It really does dictate what you need to wear, how much wind is there, how long are you going? Does the weather start really cold in the morning and then get really hot by the afternoon if you're going to be out for a long time? How do you dress for that? There's a lot more that you have to think about and plan for. And some of that comes more intuitive as you ride outside more, but it's really daunting to figure all that out at the beginning, unless you're just riding in a place where the temperature is kind of always the same and you're just riding during the summer. But if you want to structure train year-round, that becomes a huge component if you're going to ride outside for your training. And then I'm finding there's another really big component for structured training outside versus inside. So inside, you can come up with your own structured training plan, you can follow a plan, you can have a coach, and you can just go execute it. For outside, even if you have that in place, you now also have to think about, what route am I doing in order to be able to do this structured training? Can I do these intervals that I need to do on a flat road? Or do I need a hill at like 3 to 6% in order to really do them properly? Do I need a long climb? Do I need a short climb? You really have to plan your route with your training, and sometimes you have to compromise on one of the two based on what you have available to you. Another consideration, guys, is the availability component. So the other day, my wife wasn't feeling very well, and I was going to go out for a ride. And we had to come up with a action plan of what happens if she needs to go to the ER when I'm out on a ride. This is the first time we've really thought about it or had a situation like this crop up since starting to train outside primarily. And so we had to come up with a plan, because I could be 2 hours away from home and she decides she needs to go to the ER. So do I not train that day? Do I switch my training to indoor training so that I'm available at any time if she does need to go to the ER? Or is it something that she can wait till I get home, or I can take like a Didi, an Uber to get home quicker? You have to think about these things. Whereas if you're just training indoors, it's not a matter of any of that. It's just, okay, if you need to go, I get off the bike at home and we go. And so you have that kind of consideration. And yeah, depending on if someone's really sick at home, it might just be better to just cancel your ride and ride at home or not ride at all. But at least for me, I find that I can ride 4 to 5 hours outside without too much issue. Yeah, I start getting some cardiac drift at that like 3.5, 4 hour mark. But that's not saying I'm so knackered by 5 hours that I'm gonna fall off the bike. Or that I'm in pain after 5 hours. Whereas, oh man, if I were to stay on the indoor trainer for 5 hours, oh my gosh, no way. Those of you that can do that, like, hats off to you. I can do 2-3 hours on the indoor trainer, not happily, but I can do it. I can suffer through it. Anything over an hour and a half is suffering to me on the indoor trainer. Even if it's just like an endurance ride, there's just something about you don't have the dynamic movement. And so I don't know, it really takes its toll on my sitting, my back, my arms, everything. And I have to turn on movies or some sort of entertainment to distract myself from the discomfort. Whereas I could go on a 5-hour ride and not listen to any music and just be present, and I'll be happy as a clam. It's wonderful. It feels a bit selfish to be gone for that amount of time, but it really, really helps my mental health, and it keeps me happy to do those sorts of things. And that's another component. What's bringing you pleasure? If you find pleasure and happiness and satisfaction doing Zwift rides, keep doing Zwift rides. You know, that's working for you. That's awesome. If you find it to be a sufferfest, try going outside. Try riding solo, try riding in a small group, try riding in a bigger group. You know, if you go out on the weekends, you're bound to bump into other cyclists. That was a problem I first started training here, is I didn't know any of the roads. I can't speak the language, which makes it even harder. And I didn't know anyone. So I couldn't ask for route recommendations, what roads are safe, what roads are good, what routes have people done. I couldn't ask any of that stuff. I don't have a car, so I don't know these roads. So you're probably better off than what I was when we first got here and started training outside. All that familiarity that you have with where you live is going to come in handy for starting to train outside. But if you're in a situation like I am, where you're new to an area, I recommend going out on a Saturday, and you'll bump into people. There will be other cyclists, even if it's not a big cycling area that you live in. There will be other cyclists that you'll bump into eventually. And they'll probably be locals. They'll probably know what clubs are around, what rides are best. Maybe they'll invite you along for their ride. You just have to have some flexibility. So speaking of being flexible, guys, I usually get out to train at like between 10 to 12. That just allows me to have a leisure morning, get ready, maybe do a couple work things or house chore things, and then get out and ride. But I'm finding that as we get more and more into spring here in Beijing, there's a lot of wind that happens at around noon into the afternoon. And that makes training really difficult when we have gale force winds sweep through. So it almost then forces you to make a decision. Do I train inside or do I get up early to train outside? And for me, I prefer to try to switch to getting up early to train outside over training inside. And that might come that I need a little bit of both. I think there's a good argument to be made for doing your intervals sometimes inside. I just wouldn't recommend maybe doing those long endurance rides on the trainer unless that's something you enjoy. It's not something that I enjoy. So on those endurance days, I really have to get myself out of the door early in order to avoid the wind. But if you guys have found a balance between indoor and outdoor riding, and you have a system in place for what you prefer on which under different circumstances, please let me know in the comments, because it's something I'm still kind of learning and trying to adapt to. And your input would be quite helpful for me and for anyone else watching this video. But with that, I'm gonna get back to finishing this endurance ride, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.